The Tuesday, January 17, 2023, Granville County Board of Commissioners is now in session. Let's pray. Dear God, thank you so much for your love and your grace and your mercy. Thank you for all that you do for us as a community, as a nation, as a state. And thank you so much for those who serve our nation on the front lines, those law enforcement officers, those military, firefighters, Lord, our nurses, our doctors, those that EMS employees, those that put their lives on the line for us. Lord, we thank you so much for them. Lord, please let this board be deliberate about what it does. Let it make decisions that are fair and unbiased. Let us be conservatives, physical conservatives when it comes to monetary decisions. Let us do what we believe that will be in the best interest of Granville County and the citizens that we serve. Let us not forget, God, that we're a board that is here to serve the people, not our needs, but the needs of the people, and that those people placed us in office to serve them and to be here for them. Lord, bless this board, bless those that came tonight, look after them and their families, give everyone safe travel tonight to and from, and we thank you, God, for allowing us to live in such a great country and such a great state, and yes, Lord, a great county. In Christ's name we pray, amen. Amen. You stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We thank everyone for being here tonight. We've got a pretty busy schedule, and hopefully we get it done. But before we do that, just a few comments from the chair on behalf of our board. First of all, it's good to have you back, Commissioner Hinman, but it's a sad occasion for you having to go to the funeral of your sister, Jody, and I pray we're prayerful for your family, and all the sympathy and condolences to your family in the loss of your sister, Jody Back. Thank you. We had the privilege yesterday of attending a ceremony that honored Dr. Martin Luther King, and so I have a statement on behalf of the board I'd like to read. The board will now take a moment to briefly honor Dr. Martin Luther King, Jr. To do so, I would like to take you back in time, a time of chaos and uncertainty. Who were we? Who were we as a nation? And were we really a nation that truly honored our founding values stated within our Declaration of Independence? We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain inalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. It is 1968. I recall vividly watching the evening news each night and listening to Walter Cronkite addressing our nation. The world was in turmoil. 1968 was a year unlike any year I can recall in my lifetime. A nation at war, a U.S. naval ship, USS Pueblo, captured by North Korea, protests, riots across our nation, political and social upheaval, and most horribly the assassinations of two men who were champions of fighting for justice and equality, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., a Baptist minister, and Robert Kennedy, a presidential candidate. The loss of both these young champions of justice shattered a nation's heart. 1968 forever changed our nation. We honor Dr. King for his life and his legacy of fighting against injustices and for equality. He so passionately wanted all Americans, regardless of their ethnicity, to be treated with dignity, fairness, compassion, and equality. In further remembrance of Dr. King, I'd like to state a few of his quotes. Whatever your life's work is, do it well. A man should do his job so well that the living, the dead, the unborn could do it no better. That was from his street sweeper sermon, excuse me. If a man has not discovered something that he will die for, he isn't fit to live. Life's most persistent and urgent question is, what are you doing for others? If a man is called to be a street sweeper, he should sweep streets even as Michelangelo painted, or Beethoven composed music, or Shakespeare wrote poetry. He should sweep streets so well that all the hosts of the heaven and earth will pause to say, here lived a great street sweeper who did his job well. The ultimate measure of a man is not where he stands in moments of comfort and convenience, but where he stands at times of challenge and controversy. And one of my favorites, darkness cannot drive out darkness. Only light can do that. Hate cannot drive out hate. Only love can do that. Let's bow our heads briefly in a moment of remembrance to Dr. King's memory. Thank you. Now, to the people's business. Consent agenda. What's the pleasure of the board? And on item 4, please know that in your packet, there's been an addition of May 2nd minutes there as well. Do I have the pleasure of the board?
Mr. Chairman, I move for approval of the consent agenda.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Have any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Passes. So we're moving on to introduction, recognitions, and presentations. I'd like Ms. Hinman to come forward and provide the purpose will recognize Vicki Hammy for her 30 years of service for the Department of Social Services. Ms. Hinman.
They always say there's a woman behind a good man. Well, there's always a man behind a good woman. Otherwise, you couldn't do it. So, Mr. Kozar is looking over here with us, and I'll let you do the class. And I'm going to attempt to read this because you mean so much to me. And the thought of losing you from our department at DSM has got me just tied up, and I might have to switch spots with Mr. Kozar in a minute. But I'm going to try without crying as much as I expect. So, Vicki Hammy. This was from January 8th from 1992 to January 2023. Ms. Vicki Hammy began her career in 1992. The Granville County Department of Social Services, and as a social worker too, and family and children's services unit. Prior to 1992, Ms. Hammy served in temporary roles with the agency as an income maintenance technician in energy and low-income assistance programs. In 1990 and 91, Representative Lane's offer letter dated January 7, 1992 stated her duties as a social worker would begin as she finished her duties in school program. Ms. Hammy served as a social worker 1, 2, and 3, and has been promoted to social worker investigation, assessment, and treatment in 2005. The work that Ms. Hammy has done over so many years required extensive experience and a high level of skill, insight, empathy, and engagement. For the past 30 years, including through a global pandemic, Ms. Hammy has been responsible for ensuring that our children can live safely in their own homes, or helping to provide family resources so they can remain within their extended families. Her work with each family consisted of frequent home visits, conducting family member community moderation. That's a big word. And frequent home and service projects providers. She facilitated child and family team meetings, filled court petitions, testified when needed, and documented everything. And I understand there wasn't an I or a T not crossed. Ms. Hammy is an exemplary social worker with a passion for this service. She lived and demonstrated this passion and commitment with every family she touched in our community. She truly enjoyed the service she provided as she saw it was her calling. Ms. Hammy knew ever since she was a young girl that she wanted to do somehow help people in need, even considering to join the peace or as a nun. As a nun? Oh my gosh, we never got to meet her. Miss Tammy knew every. Oh, I'm sure you hear what. Miss Tammy knew. She shared her experience with her colleagues and intern students, new social workers, and even more experienced social workers and supervisors. She wanted everybody to do well. Our social services department and the citizens of Granville County have truly been blessed for over 30 years by the choices she has made to become a social worker in the community. Director Hampton expresses a special thank you and appreciation for all the child protection services on call, late, weekend, holiday hours that Ms. Tammy has provided in services to her community over the years. Ms. Tammy is deserving of our appreciation and acknowledgement of her service as we celebrate her retirement. No, she's not going anywhere. We love you, Mrs. I'm going to come to you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Hammond. And I just want to say, I've had a very enormous family, we go back elementary school. So I've known this kind of person that she graduated with a sister, Hannah. And so when you people like that working to serve people, you just feel good about the agency. I started politicking for her to come back to Hannah when I heard about her retirement. So I wanted her to hang around and continue to help us. But I'm very happy to present this to you. As you know, I have always been very grateful for your service and how you have treated our people and the way you do. So this is presented to David G. Hammond. He stands for green. Granville County Department of Social Services, January 8, 1992, December 31st, 2022, in recognition of outstanding service to the citizens of Granville County, presented by the Granville County Board of Commissioners, January. And you know you weren't feeling well last week, but then we missed the last meeting, but we thank you so much. Hey, God continue to bless you.
Your on-call number is what now? Hi, that's right.
Our next item is Duke Energy Foundation Grant Award Presentation, and this is presentation of a grant check from Duke Energy. If I could have Ms. Weichel come, and I believe Mr. Rivas, as well as Ms. Tanya Evans from Duke Energy to come forward, please. Ms. Wycliffe, you could please provide the background, et cetera.
Sure. So I first wanted to say what a pleasure it is being here this evening for such a great purpose. In 2022, Granville County applied for 2 different grants through the Duke Energy Foundation, and we were awarded a total of $30,000. $5,000 of that was slated for safety improvements to the Granville Athletic Park trail system. That trail system has been in for many years. It's used by thousands of visitors every year, and it is in much need of repair. They have continued to provide funding for park amenities, including the trail system, over many years, and we truly appreciate their ongoing support and their commitment to our community and to Granville County citizens. I'm happy also to let you know that their past and present sponsorships will be recognized on the sponsor wall mural that we will plan for installation later this year. It's actually beginning fabrication soon, I hope, and we hope to have that installed sometime later this year. So I'm very happy that they're continuing and will always continue to support Granville County. The other $25,000 is awarded to Emergency Management Department for the purchase of some safety equipment and shelter supplies, and I'm going to let Jason Revis, the Granville County Emergency Management Director, speak to that.
Thank you. So, on behalf of Granville County Emergency Management, I personally want to thank Tanya Evans and the Duke Energy Foundation for this grant. They've been a huge partner for Granville County, especially emergency management, over the past years with numerous grants. Even, I think the last one they created a cartoon. So Ms. Tanya and Mr. Logan was cartoon characters in doing fire prevention and winter weather warnings and awareness. So what this grant for the emergency management is going towards is twofold. One is to put somewhere, depending on pricing, is 10 to 12 AEDs throughout several Granville County buildings, earmarked especially towards the higher populated buildings. And the other part is going towards replacing cots that we've lost due to aging out, as well as some of the restructuring that Red Cross has done. So it's something we were really looking forward to help build up to better serve our citizens during disasters. So AEDs, it's all in the spotlight right now. I mean, if we look at the Buffalo Bills player who went down during the football game, Mr. Damar Hamlin, early intervention. So this was a strong part that I know me and the county manager and Ms. Weichel talked about, looking for grants, and this was like the perfect time. With AEDs in their use, they save lives. They proved it with the Buffalo Bills player. Early intervention. So this was a very much needed grant, and it come through at the right time. And again, I want to thank the Duke Energy Foundation and Tanya for this.
Well, thank you for allowing me to be before you today. We're so excited about being able to provide this grant for 2 wonderful opportunities. Again, Parks and Rec, I will say I'm a runner, and so I appreciate a good trail. And so I know that we have a long-standing partnership with Parks and Rec, and really it's important to us to be able to support the communities that we serve, and this is a great way that we'd love to be able to do, and so we're excited about that. And as for the emergency management grant, recently the Duke Energy Foundation made a commitment to supporting emergency management efforts and storm response and community resiliency late last year. And so this is part of that commitment. I can say that my father-in-law and my mother both have suffered cardiac arrest and were saved by an AED. So it's
personal to me too that this grant is going to that effort as well. So thank you for being willing to have us here today, and I love being able to bring the big check. And so if you will allow us the opportunity to take a picture with you, I would be grateful.
Ms. Michael, we'll have those folks come on the stage there, and I'll have the other county commissioners join them. We'll take a photograph of that and the check for the county. Cool.
If you can't be seen, if you can't see, you can't be seen. You him first.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I didn't talk to you I know. Want to get our hands on.
Just want to thank Ms. Evans again and Duke Energy for their graciousness in providing those funds to Granville County. And I sure hope we never have to use them, but if we do, we're grateful for this opportunity. I could now have Ms. Puryear, if you would come to the podium, please. And if you could just give us an update on the Granville County Youth Leadership, or whatever your format you have affixed for your format. We're all ears.
Thank you. So I am not going to do the speaking this evening. I'm going to let the Youth Leadership Council update you all on their progress. They have been doing a great job. We don't necessarily have a big check to present, but they are invaluable to this community. They're going to be having it in a couple of years. So I'm going to pass this on to Mr. Jermaine for our chair.
Excuse me. Good evening. Oh, can you hear me? I don't know how to make it taller. Can you? I don't know. See, it just goes down. Good evening. Okay.
I'm sure we can make it.
Okay, as she said before.
You got help from the press.
Maybe like 6'6".
Well, boom needs work.
Sorry.
Do your best.
Is that better?
Yes.
Okay. Good evening. My name is Jermaine Puryear, Jr., and I'm here with the Granville County Youth Leadership Council, and we would like to update you on the progress that we've made in the last 3 or 4 months. On the board, we have the advisory committee for our Granville County Youth Leadership Council, and here we have our board liaisons, and tonight you will hear all of them speak to us tonight, and now we'll pass it over.
The group started with the orientation to the council. They were asked about things they want to see for teens in Granville County. Some of the things they mentioned were job shadowing, access to more activities, and community projects.
The council recently held a retreat at Camp Oak Hill. During the retreat, we took part in team building activities that included an escape room, low ropes courses, games, and ping pong. We also participated in strategic planning sessions and worked on learning parliamentary procedures.
During the strategic planning session, we reviewed county-based data from the NCACC, County Map Book, Kids Count data, and racial equity reports, and etc. These are more pictures of some of the activities we partook in while we were on said retreat. This is us using the information we learned from our data sets to come up with new ways to help the teens of our county. These charts reflect how the council views the community today and where members see gaps and needs.
We had the opportunity to participate in team building exercises at Camp Oak Hill. Some of those team exercises included trust balls, web seesaw leadership weight balance. Oh, and those are the pictures right there. And one last activity, we had the wall climb, which was a good team activity. Is there a video for that? Come on, pop up. Well, basically that activity was you had to use your team to get people over this wall. There was no steps, there was no ladders. You just use hand and feet to get your teammates over the wall.
Okay. At the retreat, we created the mission statement for the council. It states, the mission of the Granville County Youth Leadership Council is to provide representation, opportunities, and direct connections for Granville County youth by support, amplifying youth voices, and focusing on causes that affect us and our peers through education, resources, activities, community outreach, and partnerships.
We had our first official meeting on December 17, 2022. We worked on finalizing our committees and board assignments. We conducted project brainstorming as well as finalizing our elections. With the board elections, you can see that we worked on things like communities. We finalized who's going to do what. And I know some people are like in the veterans committee and it's spread out, but we're also able to talk about the committees and have some good conversations about it.
We also worked on developing the logo for the council. Carissa, is the founder of this logo. First, we started with the light bulb with the brain inside. It represents the bright ideas we bring. The people holding hands represents the youth. We wanted to incorporate the red color of our county into the logo, so as you can see, the red is in there. And of course, we wanted to incorporate our name.
Members wanted to reach all youth in the community, so we created social media platforms like Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook. The members will be using social media in many ways, including polling youth. We had our first fun TikTok. It was, our chairman said we needed to be at the meeting at 9 a.m. and it was everybody coming in order. Wonderful play.
On January 9th, we introduced the council to the school board, and we're very excited to be working with them in the future.
At our second meeting, we finalized the board liaisons to the local community boards. We received training on how to be effective on the boards and contribute to the conversation. Some of the boards that are suggested by the commissioners are on the screen right now.
Come and sing to a county near you. Next week we'll have a meet and greet for each high school in Granville County. We'll be trained in teen mental health and first aid to help our peers. Mental health is a serious concern in our community, and in the future, we hope to have a podcast, career/job fair, and teen nights. Thank you.
We have big ambitions, but we believe this group can get things done. Thank you for having us.
Not too much.
Mr. Chairman, may I respond to this real quick? At first, I was very, very upset that you all didn't invite me to the retreat. But after seeing the team building thing, it was okay, because you don't have a crane big enough to lift me. Thank you. Thank you very much for all the incentive you guys have done, and I'm so proud of you all. I mean, where's Miss Hammy? Look how proud these people are, and awesome. So thank you, thank you, thank you. I feel our future is safe in your hands. Thank you.
Ms. Puryear, can I, for the sake of the public who are not that familiar with what you're doing, could you just, and I know it's in the purpose and background, but if you could just generalize what the goal is and what the initiative is, and how long you've been working on this?
For the Youth Leadership Council? Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. So with the Youth Leadership Council, it kind of got started, I think Jermaine started in August, just saying there needed to be a youth voice. And then Commissioner Hinman and Kozar got with us to kind of discuss how we could have how the youth could have a voice in the community. They have a lot to say and they have a lot of great ideas, but a lot of times the decisions and things are being made when they're not in the room. And so the goal was to train them to be able to serve on the boards, and for them to also bring the information to the youth in the community. So if they're at school board meetings, if they're county commissioners meeting, they can kind of format it in a way to make it more understandable to the youth, and so they can know what's going on in the community. And so they want to bring projects and community service, and they just want to be help and assistance, and because this is the community that they're growing up in, and we want them to stay, or if they leave, to come back. And so we want to be able to hear their opportunities and their voices about that.
Thank you, and thank you for all you do for our youth.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Mr. Chairman, at the start of the meeting, I talked to Ms. Puryear. We served together on the Cooperative Extension Leadership Advisory Council, and I'm very glad that Commissioner Kozart and Commissioner Hinman stepped up to take the lead on this Youth Advisory Leadership Council. So I don't need anything else on my plate. But what I'm sure that all of the Board of Commissioners understand is we have a very difficult time recruiting volunteers to serve on some of the boards. Some of the boards that we have, out of the 20-some that are available, you've got a stack and back, people volunteering, and you've got people to choose from. Others, it's very difficult to find someone who's willing to spend once a month on a Tuesday at 4 o'clock at the Library Board of Trustees meeting, or once a month on a random Thursday at the HRC meeting. And I've got some appointments to make, and I would love for some of the District 6 youth and maybe their parents, we could do a double-double. And as a parent, sometimes we wind up as the taxi driver / overseer of what our kids are doing. It'd be a great opportunity to not only hook, line, and sinker some of the youth, but their families as well. And I would suggest that we not only seek the youth involved in this, but the folks at the helm that they reside with, parents and guardians and that kind of thing. But again, for the District 6 people in the group, I know there's 3, I believe. HRC, Human Relations Commission, I've got 2 appointments that are coming up very soon on that. Library Board of Directors, or Library Board of Trustees. And on the other one that's available, I think we should task these youth with filling those vacancies as well.
I agree totally.
Agree. And just for the public's information, each district in the county is well represented by this leadership council, and we appreciate that. Any other comments?
Just so proud, Mr. Chairman, and I see parents looking proud. Makes you feel so good when you see parents have an opportunity to see their children doing things well, and it's just a great moment. Looking forward to your leadership.
Amen.
We have no one has signed up for public comments, so I'll ask, is there anyone here wishing to make any public comments tonight? We'll move on. Ms. Griffin, if I could have you, and the purpose is consider refunding incorrectly assessed taxes to a Mr. Tyler Wilson. If you could address the board with that and make a recommendation, please.
Okay, Tyler Wilson contacted our office on December 14th. It was a big one parcel of land that was split into two sections. The house was taxed on the incorrect parcel. North Carolina General Statutes 105-325A6 empowers the Board of County Commissioners to change abstracts and tax records after the Board of Equalization and Review has adjourned, or to appraise or reappraise property when the assessor reports to the board that since the adjournment, the Board of Equalization and Review facts have come to the assessor's attention that render it advisable to raise or lower appraisal of some particular property of a given taxpayer in the current calendar year. I know it's 2023, but he did bring it to our attention December 14th, and you guys had already adjourned. And it's my recommendation to, we will be refunding him and then creating a bill for the parcel that should have had the house taxed on it.
Okay, is there a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I'm going to approve the tax administrator's recommendation.
I have a second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? So moved. We have another one for you, Ms. Griffin here, and it's the to approve of the board to review and approve a policy for late exemption and exclusion application process. And Ms. Griffin, if you could just apply some background, then I'll be asking the county manager and if necessary, the county attorney to provide more explanation in how we derived at doing this and to establish this policy which was needed, and now it's before us.
Okay. North Carolina provides a clear guidance of how property taxes are to be assessed and paid, including the processes by which local jurisdiction can receive and process application for allowable exemptions and exclusions from property taxation. The statutory application period for exemptions is January 1st until January 31st, and exclusion application period is from January 1st until June 1st. Each year we have several late applications delivered to our office. And North Carolina General Statute 105-282-1 A1 states, upon showing good cause by the applicant for failure to make a timely application, the governing board may approve the application. The statute does not clearly define just cause, but to avoid accidentally setting unhelpful precedents, staff believes that adopting the attached policy will provide the needed guidance to staff and to the county commissioners for what would be considered just cause.
Thank you. County manager.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. In addition to what Tax Administrator Griffin has pointed out, I just wanted to say that We do want to provide good information to citizens. We want as many of them as are eligible for these exemptions to qualify for them. Upon showing good cause, however, is kind of a squishy territory, and the adoption of the proposed policy, I think the county attorney was with us on this, would just help guide the tax administrator and the board in so that we didn't set sort of unhelpful precedents. We get all kinds of requests, and this would solidify what were good grounds for issuing an exemption from the request.
County Attorney, you have any comments you'd like to make?
No, I think this policy will allow us to treat similarly situated taxpayers similarly instead of making an ad hoc decision.
I think the back page lines it up for us in the second bullet point. The taxpayer, good cause for considering a late application may include situations which the taxpayer was incompetent, incapacitated, or deployed in military service out of country during the period in which the application should have been submitted. So we have some reasonable guidelines to follow, and we're not picking winners and losers, but following policy. So is there a motion on the board to accept this as our policy? So move. The second. Second. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion's carry. Passes. Thank you.
Thank you.
If we could, Mr. Will Robinson, how are you this evening, sir? We're moving on to the purchase of outdoor instruments for percussion play for the Thornton Library and using funds for the State Physical Recovery Funds grant. I will tell you, Mr. Robinson, when I read this, I did scratch my head. Percussion instruments for the library. So we look forward to your explanation, but we also, if we understand it correctly, is this is grant and there's no cost to the county.
That's correct. We received the State Fiscal Recovery Fund. I'll give you some background on that. The non-recovery covering state aid to public libraries is separate from, in addition to, your normal recurring state aid to public libraries. The non-recurring state aid funds originate with the U.S. Treasury Office as part of the Coronavirus State Fiscal Recovery Funds under the American Rescue Plan. They will be distributed through the NC Pandemic Recovery Office to the Department of Natural and Cultural Resources State Library for disbursement. So the Granville County Library was granted $64,899 through this grant. And this grant is very open-ended into what we want to do with it to better our services, our programmings, it was pretty much, whatever we wanted to do. But we did have to report quarterly to the state library on what we were doing. They did give us a long list of guidelines, but they're very kind of loose. But I think they just wanted us to make up for some lost time, to catch up on programming and be able to bring people back into the libraries with this money. So, your question about the instruments, this is only something for the community to be put outside. If you look at the front of the Thornton Library to the right, there used to be there still are some raised beds that had gardens in them. There will be some instruments there, and then across the sidewalk is another area where some instruments can go too. This is just for the children or the parents or anybody in the community, just to have fun and we're kind of creating the library as more of a hub for community, not just books anymore. It's software training, it's food and wellness training, the sky's the limit. It's also a place where you can go to get, to use software that you can't afford at home, or use computers that you can't afford at home, or to get job training. So, but this is just a place to make that area just more conducive to the community to come and bring their children. What other questions did you have about it?
Well, I'll ask it.
Yeah, go for it.
Just help me. So these instruments, where are they going to be stored, and what type of instruments, and who's going to play them, and just kind of set it up for me. So
right.
And I do understand again that, and this board understands that it's not county money, but I just don't want to later date end up the county having to pay to store instruments for the library.
Right. Well, these things that we put in with concrete, they're not going to be, they're not going anywhere unless somebody runs a car through them. But yeah, these are going to be a permanent installation of outdoor instruments, similar to the ones at the Gap. And I believe Commissioner Karen, you said you installed one out in Creedmoor somewhere.
Sure, there's a drum corral at
Right,
Lake
drum
Rogers in Creedmoor.
Yeah, right. Yeah, these are permanent installations to go where the statue used to be. Yeah, it's going to be a part of the scenery in the building. It's not something that's ephemeral. It's really going to be a big part of it. And we're all very excited about it. And when children have learned about it in the children's programs, they're excited about it too. I mean, it's really aimed toward children. It's easily accessible. It's like bongo drums and like pipes that you can play with little things, whatever they're called. But yeah, I mean, I think it'll be a great thing for downtown too.
Mr. Chairman, can I ask a question?
Oh, sure.
So is there any possibility of doing this at any of the other libraries, or is this the only one at this point that you're considering?
This is the only one at this point. I think we wanted to try it out because Thornton is kind of right downtown, and there's a lot of foot traffic that goes through there. South Branch does have a lot of high school students, but not really the younger people that I think would want to play with these instruments here.
I think Stovall would be awesome up there with that new
Stovall would be good
gazebo,
too.
and
I mean, that could
even
be,
Berea.
That could be something we could look for in the future.
Now that we have clients coming to the Berea Library,
Right,
I
Berea
think
is
keeping them up
definitely
there is awesome.
blown up lately, and we're all excited about that because we've got a great person out there, Maggie, with a lot of energy. But yeah, I mean, this is just for now at Thornton and to see what happens. But yes.
Is this accessible 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, since it's going to be outside?
It is accessible unless there's some way to cover them or something that we feel need to be. But, I mean, there's not going to be anybody bothered by it because the library is pretty much off by itself. I mean, there's no residentials except for in the very back.
And you've identified county-owned property around the library.
That's correct. Right, and I talked to Scott Phillips today about if there's anything that we needed to do to make sure about city zoning. He didn't think so. He thought it's not a building or an addition. Yeah, I mean, I think it's just going to be a great magnet for kids and families.
So as we talked about today, I'm glad you got up with Mr. Phillips, our Director of Facilities. So you're confident that you have enough room in those two spaces?
I am confident we have enough room in those two spaces.
Okay. applaud your efforts in this. I'm a big proponent of recreation in a pocket park. No matter where you put that pocket is a good thing for the community.
Well, I appreciate that.
And I think with Miss Hall at the Berea Library, I think you've got an asset there.
Oh,
At
definitely.
the South Branch you mentioned, I mean, that you do have the, just lost what I was trying to thought. You've got your youth, your youth coming in for library time.
And doing programming
And that kind of thing. And I know we spent a considerable amount of money inside with the fun decorations with the book some 5, 8, 10 years ago. But just wanted to make sure you've got the space available and you're not going to be encroaching upon the sidewalks or anything.
No. We'll make sure that it's not, that it's in a.
And then the permanence of the installation, they're going to be well concreted. It says ground fixed. I know that I looked at some of them and whoever picked them out did a really good job. You know, as a dad of our percussionist, y'all did a pretty good job of picking out what you've got. Happy to see you've got some outdoor music available as well, so that it's just not totally free form. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but just wanted to double check to make sure that we've got the space and that the city of Oxford's not going to become an impediment, especially when you're talking about the area between the sidewalk and the road.
Right. I mean, not according to Scott Phillips, he didn't have any problem with it.
Did the company provide you with a spatial layout from the distance required from any other things as far as what they recommend?
They don't really require the spatial layout. They definitely have pictures of ones that are set up, especially like this trio of things that has like the bongo drums and the pipes that you play and kind of the steel drum. And so that's something that we can, definitely emulate what they are doing in those pictures. But we're definitely in talking with the people at the company, and they can give us, more information about how they have set them up at other places, and we seem to have some problems with how we're doing. So.
Thank you.
What's the pleasure? Go ahead.
Yes.
Do you foresee any downside to this equipment being available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week?
No, I really don't. I don't know what problems it could cause. It's not really, I don't think it's loud enough to carry into the neighborhoods there was some worry that, it's on the very corner of the library away from where people study. So I think that's the best placement for it. Sure.
Do you have any idea on the cost of the installation of these?
The cost of the installation, I'm not sure. I'm going to talk with Gary about how, it might just take a auger and concrete to put it in. I actually have some diagrams of how they would be put in.
811 before you dig.
Oh, of course, yeah. I used to be a land surveyor. I know about utilities under the ground.
Is the installation a county cost?
Yes. No. Anything that would still come from this grant. Yeah, there'd be no county cost in any of this.
So you're able to bill back county installation cost after the fact?
Say that again?
Are you able to bill back to the grant?
Well, yeah, I can just say this goes, we dug these holes for the instruments. It's not,
right, usually when you do a project, it's the rule of thirds, a third for the material, a third for profit, and a third for labor. So we don't worry about the profit part, but the third for labor part is going to become an issue, I think, if you don't have that kind of upfront.
That might be, I don't see us spending that much money to put these things on the ground. But we've still got tons of money in that fund, but, I don't want to spend a lot of money putting them in the ground, but I just don't foresee that. I mean, I've put things in the ground with concrete myself. I don't,
Thank you for volunteering.
Thank you, Mr. Robinson. Board, what's your pleasure?
Mr. Chairman, I'd just like to say it's so good to have flexibility with a grant and commend Mr. Robinson on doing something that's maybe different, and their arts is so important. So with that in mind, I move that we approve this recommendation.
And I'll second that.
Thank you.
The second discussion, I'm going to have discussion. It's Mr. Robinson, I do applaud your efforts. I just got to be honest with this board and be honest with myself that when I see what our kids are lacking in our school system, and then I would prefer the state, when they allocate funds of that nature, would have driven it that way. That's not your fault, and that's not through any effort that you're doing.
I understand where you're coming from, but we haven't had something like this in 25 years. And I doubt I'll see it again in my lifetime.
How are you gonna, well, we move on, plus discussion. I just wanted you to understand where I was coming from.
Yes.
But this will draw children to the library and maybe get use of a book or use of a computer or something of that nature, so.
No, I understand everyone's point of view. We have a first, I have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Aye. Any further discussion? Motion passes. Thank you. You can write there. It's good. It's got the next one for you.
Okay.
Mr. Robinson, to consider the purchase of a mobile kitchen using food literacy center mini grant funds. I think similar funding source, but I'll let you explain from there.
Okay, this came from a food literacy center mini grant, which was through the state library. But there's only 5 that were awarded to the state, and our library was one of them. So we're proud of that. It's in the amount of $16,930. It was to buy what is called a Charlie Cart, which is a mobile kitchen. This is something that we're really starting to stress more food literacy and health and wellness. And I think this is a big step toward getting more food programming and using and working with Cooperative Extension. And there's another group called SLICE, and also the Children's Librarian Amy Carlson has gotten training and certified to prepare food. This cart is about this long, and it completely goes inside itself. So there's like a little sink, but you won't have like burners and stuff on there. They'll all be back inside the thing because it's all electric, so it can all be taken apart. But it doesn't take up much room. I think there was somebody had mentioned that maybe they were worried about space to store it, but we definitely still have some big closet space in the large auditorium where it could go. But yeah, I think it would be a great addition to the community, especially in a community in Oxford, which doesn't have a lot of grocery stores. I mean, the convenience stores are certainly easier for people to walk to and get food than that. But any more questions that you have about this?
Any questions from the board?
So I'm excited that you're cooperating or partnering with Cooperative Extension, and especially with the Food and Family Services. We've got a fantastic crew over there.
Definitely,
and for her,
and we've used them before a lot.
Right, for her to apply her trade. I know that you do the lunch and learns now currently with Cooperative Extension, especially with Family Consumer Sciences. on this food literacy. This is not the safer state SFRF funds, right? This is
It's a mouthful.
a completely separate grant funding.
This is a separate grant, yeah.
This is not the recovery funds.
No, this is not recovery funds.
Awesome. Continue to apply for as many grants as you can possibly find. I appreciate that.
Hey, certainly. We've been doing pretty good lately.
I'll offer a motion for approval.
Second.
Any opposed? We have to vote on it, right? Yeah. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Passes.
All right, thank you.
Will, thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thanks for answering all the questions and
Definitely.
hanging in there. We appreciate it.
Anytime.
I'm going to ask now if the board can take a recess. The chair needs to rest his knee. So I would greatly appreciate it. If I could have 10 minutes and we can resume the meeting, that'd be fine. Do you have a motion?
I'll make that motion.
In a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. 10 minutes. Thank you. That was.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you for stepping down there, Sheriff Fountain. And the purpose of this is the purchase of requested for 2 official use vehicles, to receive approval for the purchase of 2 official use vehicles for Granville County Sheriff's Office, in the amount of $78,000. And if I'm correct on this one, the funding avenue on this one is asset forfeiture funds. And you can please provide us the background, Sheriff, and furtherance of your request.
First, thank you for this opportunity to speak. I always want to give credit to my team that we're assembling, and I want to pay particular attention to some of the people that have joined me. Recently promoted Captain/Chief Ed Newman has served this county greatly for over 27 years, so I just promoted him. Captain McCall, we've just had an opportunity to bring on someone from the Governor's Safety Highway Council, Mr. Kevin Buster, who has had 28 years with the state service, probation and parole, military service. The first chief of police from Witherspoon, North Carolina, Lynette Clements, has joined us as well. And then Mr. Robertson has over 26 years probation and parole corrections experience, just took over jail and detention services. So we are growing. Today I swore in 10 officers. In the past 30 days, I've sworn in about 15. So we're moving. We're moving at a pace that kind of surprised me. I have 4 in school right now. I have 5 waiting for March and about 6 after that. So the target projection for us to be fully staffed was July. I think we'll get that sooner than that. So we are always aggressively, and I think that's what Drew said today. He didn't know the aggressive recruitment we were doing. So with that being said, I also want to make sure that people understand the current law enforcement partnerships we've had with federal agencies. A week ago, we had a large seizure of illegal firearm enhancement devices. We worked with the FBI to execute a search warrant in Granville County where a young man was selling these sear devices made through 3D printers to people in Durham. At no point do we ever want to infringe on someone's Second Amendment rights, and they can be legal if they come through the federal firearms processes and sign off through the sheriff's office. That was not the case, so we worked with our federal partners to conduct these apprehension and execution of search warrants. So that leads us to today. With the growth that we are expecting, we are in need of more vehicles. With the asset forfeiture fund, we have about $350,000 that we have currently that we want to purchase, 2 that have been identified. With the influx of vehicles now, and because we cannot currently get any more patrol vehicles like Dodge Chargers, we have to go to other vehicles. And we have to kind of acquire those vehicles as they come about. Deputy Mark Harrison is working diligently through our government contracts to secure vehicles wherever we can find them from Virginia to South Carolina to make sure we stay ready and we are able to service our community and not put a strain on the county's budget. So we want to utilize asset forfeiture funds to acquire 2 Tahoes that have been identified through a local vendor. We have those waiting for the approval from the board, and those vehicles are sitting ready for us, and the VIN numbers have been assigned. All we need is approval for you to grant us permission to purchase those. And further than that, and I think myself and County Manager, Mr. Cummings, we had talked about 2 other vehicles because we kind of, law enforcement is tracking down and chasing down every vehicle. In the end of this month, there will be a release of vehicles from other companies. We have to purchase in advance of those people, even just to get vehicles as we grow. So right now, we're looking at surplusing some vehicles, and Captain Chief Newman is in the process of looking at the vehicles that we have to surplus, and we have to basically provide our deputies with vehicles as they grow and as we grow. I don't think we've been fully staffed in this department or agency office for years. And in the next few months, we'll be fully staffed, and we need those assets to provide service to our county. So we've also identified 2 other vehicles. We were looking at some Chevy Silverados, but they are not conducive to what we want to do. They were available. Yes.
Sheriff, didn't mean to interrupt you. If you could hold there and let us resolve the issue with the
2 asset forfeitures.
And then we'll move on and discuss. Board, is there any questions with the sheriff in regards to the purchase of the 2 identified vehicles based on the funds coming from asset forfeiture, and for residents or for citizens? Asset forfeiture funds is essentially funds and contraband seized while in the performance of their duties, and then shared with the federal government, and proceeds come back to Granville County, and those funds are specifically have certain allowances that they can be used to purchase or to gain assistance to law enforcement. You can buy training, you can work with the canine programs, or you can buy use funds for detention services, a variety of things, up to include vehicles. And so that would be the background for that, for the purpose of those here tonight and the board who is aware of that. So, any questions?
I have a question, Mr. Chairman. Do we keep 100% of those funds, or do we share those with other agencies?
They're shared.
Okay. Do you know what the percentage is?
It depends on the case.
Depends on the number of entities that work with us. So if we seized $100,000 off of a stop with somebody, depending on what the feds take of their percentage, if we shared with other agencies, we would split it. But if it's us operating and collecting it, we keep everything other than that. When we goes through the adjudication process with the courts, then that money is then put into our asset forfeiture fund. We still have money coming in because of the great work that these deputies have done for the years they've been here. And we want to continue to do that and continue to utilize our interdiction units to offset some of the costs that will be off the taxpayers' backs. So that's why we're going to hire qualified, competent people so we can do that for our taxpayers too.
And these are funds that we've been just having sit in an account, that they haven't been being used lately, right?
No, we use and we keep going. I think we are right now in the process of, we spent $186,000 out of there. No, maybe like 86 or 90,000 for the X-ray machine for the detention center.
But that's just been recently. It had been sitting there for a long time prior to that. So
It was
thank you
about
for using this money.
Yeah.
Sheriff, you mentioned the body scanner at the detention center?
Yes, sir.
Is that still on go?
Yes.
Okay.
That's right, Drew. Still on go, right?
in the weeds question for you.
Yeah.
Standard patrol vehicle, is that an all-wheel drive or is it a two-wheel drive?
If it depends on the vehicle. Right now, we're using all-wheel vehicles, Dodge Chargers, and we got some Dodge Durangos that we purchased prior to me coming on board. And then we have some four-wheel drive Tahoes that we have as well.
Right. So your standard pursuit, the Charger
All-wheel
and
drive.
the Durango are all-time all-wheel drive.
Yep.
As opposed to like, these are like, you have to engage the four-wheel drive.
Yes, sir.
Okay, just wanted to make sure I cleared that in my mind. Thank you very much.
Sheriff, we'll do any more questions while we're talking about asset forfeiture funds that per se this doesn't, not county funds, and the Tahoes, will these be assigned to Uniform Patrol?
Uniform Patrol, those ones? The two Tahoes we're getting. Administrative guys, with all the uniform vehicles we can get because we have vehicles already in the process. Then these guys are giving up their vehicles, so now because we pretty much gonna have a fleet full of SUVs, so the supervisors are pushing their vehicles down to the patrol guys. They're gonna need vehicles to drive as well.
Okay. Again, you're the sheriff, you make those decisions, but ultimately I'd hope that we could move as many of these vehicles to Uniform Patrol active assets that are engaging the criminal element firsthand rather than supervisory or management personnel. But that's your call, Sheriff. Do we have any other discussion regarding this? Do I have a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I move that we will approve the recommendation coming from our sheriff, the purchase of 2 official use vehicles in the amount of $78,904.56, utilizing asset forfeiture funds.
Any discussion? Sheriff, so we are getting the scanner?
Yes.
And so with the scanner and with these proceeds out, your balance is over $100,000?
Should be like around 125, 130. Then we have a different account with about 115, 120,000 in it.
Okay, so you're well within your bounds. And do you know when that scanner will be arriving?
Mr. Bayless is waiting on the grant money to come in. So we signed everything. I think the purchase order was done. So I think it was part of the money was grant funded. So as soon as Bayless gets that back, we'll go ahead and do it. But I think the purchase order is already in place.
And one final question regarding discussion. This board and the council, there was a lot of concern concerning asset forfeiture accounting. And this board went through great agony, if you will, and this county has as well, in regards to the counting of those funds. So I would ask the sheriff, with the utmost respect and politeness, that as the disposal of vehicles as they're used to asset forfeiture have a process that must be followed, or there was punitive action by justice or treasury. I would ask that the sheriff would make sure that those processes are adhered to and followed through as you rotate through the seized vehicles as well, and just due diligence in that regard.
Not only through the vehicles, we repatriate all the funds, even through the weapon sales and other things that we're looking at changing. All those processes, we make sure that we repatriate those back into that fund, because DOJ has to sign off on everything that we do. So Mr. Bayless is a subject matter expert in that process, and Mr. Buster, working the Governor's Highway Safety Council, is an expert in that field as well. So we will be more than transparent and making sure that we stay out of trouble.
Thank you for working hard on that, Sheriff, and having the staff for doing that. We have a first and a second. Do I have a vote now? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? No. It passes. Sheriff, if I could go to the next item, and I'll let you speak to that, and then I'm sure the board will have some additional questions, and thank you for allowing us to ask those questions. To receive approval for the purchase of 2 official U.S. used vehicles, for Granville County Sheriff's Office. I have here, a 2023 Chevrolet Silverado 4x4 and a 2023 Chevrolet Silverado 4x4, but I do understand that may have changed.
It changed. We went through and did our due diligence. Again, Deputy Mark Harrison has went through with Chief Newman to find vehicles that bring us down from those 52,000. So we found some vehicles that basically cost the same as a patrol vehicle would cost, around 38,000, somewhere around there. Okay, between 38 and 45, so it brings the cost down. Based on the influx of vehicles, again, we're trying to make sure that when these deputies come on, we can step them into vehicles immediately. So we're aging out of vehicles and we're surplusing some of those funds, again, because if it came out of asset forfeiture, we'll go and get repatriated into the asset forfeiture funds, and those were those coming from. So with the growth, we gotta grow. If we ain't got vehicles, we'll start a different kind of a system of trading out vehicles.
Sheriff, do you happen to have the documentation with the cost of those vehicles?
Mr. Bayless was supposed to be here. You got a call? Give me a second.
And just so the board,
it comes in under that 104. I know it comes in under 104.
Did the board have any other questions for the sheriff in regards to the purchase of these 2 additional vehicles at an amount to be determined by the sheriff office prior to our vote?
What are the 2 vehicles that you're getting?
2 SUVs, similar to the Tahoe, because again, everything is we're trying to standardize. So they're similar to.
You can buy these cheaper and outfit them. Buy them and outfit them cheaper than what the 52,000 set for Chevrolet trucks. What are these going to be, like Chevrolet Tahoes, or will they be Suburbans or Suburbans? Suburban. Excuse me, can you come here and speak to the mic so I can hear you good? I'm sorry.
Yes, sir. These are Suburbans, and the price on these are $45,759 and 50 cents. So it's considerably cheaper than the
Suburbans.
Truck. Yes, sir. Yep.
Small.
Yes, sir.
Not the XLTs or anything.
How much does it cost to outfit those with the cages and restraints and so forth?
So with these, you will probably be looking at 5,000 or less.
And
It's
what is
kind
the
of a
cost for
rule
a
of thumb.
patrol car?
Sir?
Standard sedan. What is the cost for the standard sedan versus?
It's about the same.
So
the way
no-
these are outfitted will probably be cheaper than your average car for their purposes.
I'll let other people ask questions and then I'll come back if anyone has a question.
Mr. Chairman, I just say I'm just elated at the progress Sheriff Fountain is making and getting people. I didn't quite realize, I hadn't talked the last several days, saw him, but I hadn't asked him about that. But very happy that we're making that kind of progress, and surely want to have our new officers ready to go with the vehicle. So.
Sheriff, do you have a list of the inventory, and are you discussing a fleet process with the county manager?
We're looking at 2 different options. And again, I'm not going to do anything to hurt the officers of the sheriff's office. We've been in a conversation with the county manager and the county attorney looking at a fleet management system to where we can rotate vehicles in and out. The ergonomics, tracking, maintenance, all those things have been into consideration. I think we have some follow-up discussions coming in the next month or so. We're excited about those conversations. My team sits in with me when we have these conversations in meeting. I think we've had 2 so far and several telephone conversations. They would basically come in, try to buy the fleet, identify vehicles they want to purchase from us, and then they will go chase down vehicles to bring to us. Again, that goes to the same process. So when you start talking about the supply chain and vehicles and the way that vehicles are now, the prices are so elevated, we've started doing the due diligence of looking for vehicles that are below market price. You start looking at 2022s that we can find on government contract, they're going to be $5,000 to $10,000 cheaper than buying a vehicle from somewhere else. So we don't want to wait, because if we get fully staffed and then we don't have vehicles, we're in a bad shape. Most of our vehicles are around 2016, 17.
We have about 1 through 12, and we have several 13, 14. We have some vehicles 100,000. We have one 184,000. So it's time for them to cycle out.
And if you look at the charts that we've seen, even through enterprise, you will see it ebbs and flows with vehicle purchases and maintenance. And because those vehicles, as they age, we have 3 or 4 in the shop right now that are not really worth even repairing. So if we want to put a $5,000 motor in an Expedition, then we're going to start looking at that process.
Is a Suburban practical for uniform patrol, or what would you use?
Same thing. So we've even talked to our K-9s, because our K-9s drive Tahoes as well. So we're trying to find vehicles that match the fleet. So we're trying to move to an entire fleet that is consistent. So the Durangos, because we can't get those, we're just trying to grab vehicles as they come off, because every law enforcement agency in the state or surrounding states are trying to do the same thing we're doing. If we go to the fleet management system, then we may be in a different process or different place. But now my concern is moving forward to make sure these guys are better prepared than they are.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
Sheriff, what's the life of a typical patrol or
Most
vehicle?
of them, depends on how many staff you have. Because we've been short staffed for so long, the vehicles could basically sit and you wouldn't have the mileage on them. But now, since we're going to these patrol districts and we're fully staffing our patrol division, then we must then look at how we're going to run these vehicles. So we're looking anywhere from 130 to 180,000 miles. But you still have to look at the idling time on a vehicle as well to incorporate it in its lifespan. So once we started calculating those, looking at the numbers and things came from enterprise, not only did we look at it from a standpoint of what's going to be cost effective and better for the county, I could then educate myself and my team on that process as well.
Is that a 1, 2, 3 year? What is 100?
Most of them you're going to find out every 2 to 3 years you're going to flip them. And you normally, I think the county was allowing 10 cars a year based on the fleet historically. And I think we've got away from that because we've been utilizing asset forfeiture money versus using county dollars to put our fleet back in place. If I'm not mistaken, that's the process. But again, we're moving in a different direction.
No, Chair, I don't believe we have bought something like that, but I don't think that was the process.
Oh, I may be wrong.
Yeah.
But we just bought recently, how many vehicles we bought with Sheriff Hardy?
We bought some undercover vehicles. Did you actually get those vehicles, Sheriff, the undercover vehicles?
Right. They're asset forfeiture funds, and then I gave back 17,000.
You get both of them?
No, we got one. Then I gave a check back for 17,000 because we didn't get the vehicle. Yep.
Okay.
Sheriff, on your fleet,
Yes.
in a honeymoon period type thing, but have you gotten a good handle on 100% of what your fleet consists of?
Yes, we actually went through and did an audit of every piece of equipment. Even the armory just got audited by Forsyth County Detention Center. People came down. I got Onslow County coming in to actually go through that process. So again, our team has put through every VIN number, every gas card, every vehicle, every tag, and every key that's assigned to every person. Even through the call signs have been reassigned to everybody. So with these 10 people that we brought in today, the 4 in school and 3 more in March, we're going to need things.
Follow-up question on it. Have you looked at any kind of automated, assisted PMCS? As a former military guy, I'm sure you remember, when you go to motor pool, you got to like walk around the vehicle, check the brakes, check the lights, check yada, yada, yada. And no fault of our officers, I've seen patrol cars out there, missing a running light, no turn signal, so on and so forth. That would have been caught in a standard, PMCS process.
We are now, with the 2 lieutenants and with the way we've done things, Mr. Newman and Chief Clements are going through that process. We're doing vehicle maintenance inspections, and every vehicle just had to go through to make sure the vehicle inspections, the safety inspections were done last month. Yes, last month. And we are keeping the keys because there were keys just thrown all over the place when we got there. We found bags of keys, didn't know where the vehicles were, so we went through an inventory process as that as well. So everything is now structured. We went through a quartermaster system to where John Hardy, former sheriff, oversees our quartermaster system, where he is now looking at the inventory assets, even to every dime, penny, and uniform that we have.
So you have accounted for all your vehicles at this point, but prior to that, when you took office, there was no, didn't have accounting process. Is that inaccurate?
Yes.
And Sheriff, based on the funding of this, funds are available for this purchase for the Sheriff's Office General Fund account number, so forth and so on. Based on the momentum that you're seeking to purchase cars, do you have enough funding in that account to get you through this fiscal year?
I think we do. We have some more money that should be coming in from the asset forfeiture in the next few months, as I understand, with Mr. Bayless. Because of the weapon systems that we're about to purchase, we're transitioning to different weapon systems, but we will also repatriate money back into the account for the asset forfeiture funds. So as those funds come in, we will then look at it strategically, how to utilize those funds to then buy vehicles that we can get at that cheaper price. And that's why Mr. Harrison is going through looking at 22 vehicles, year model 22s. If we can get one or two that are on the lot, we're going to try to secure them as we grow. So that'll be, with you guys in the partnership to understand how we're moving, how we're progressing, and the transparency of how the agency is moving forward. And we don't want wasteful spending. And that's why I'm a fiscal responsibility guy. And that's why I want to know every dollar that's spent and where it goes.
So with the new weapon system coming on board, I take it that's going to be a cost you've discussed with the county manager, and that's going to be into what year budget, and how does that roll out with this year's budget in regards to existing funding?
Right. All that money has already been accounted for. It's going to come out of asset forfeiture fund. And then as we take that money, we'll repatriate the money to sell of the weapons that we're going to get rid of to put that money back. So the funding has already been identified where it's going to come from, and we've already got an idea of the quotes that are coming in. That's why we want to make sure we utilize asset forfeiture money and the rest of the money, the capital overlay that we have, to make sure that we are not robbing Peter to pay Paul.
So I respectfully ask, Sheriff, that you work with the county manager and with Mr. McNally to make sure that as you transition to the new weapon system and the potential need for additional vehicles,
yes,
that we're knowing that we have the funds available as you go through, and that we're not sitting here in March and get a request that you need additional funding for that. Our anticipation is that you'll come to us in retreat and make appropriate budget for the next year, but for this year that you'll meet that need.
Yes, sir. And we talked to Mr. McNally today. I think Mr. Bayless was in conversation with him already. So everything that we're doing, we're trying to stay above board and keep everybody in the loop. And I know you guys catch it at the back end, but we're making sure that the people that's working the ground of it are making sure those I's are dotted and those T's are crossed to make sure we're doing it the fiscal responsible way.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir.
I have a question. Nothing to do with vehicles, Sheriff. We pay, the county pays when we have cadets going into school.
Correct.
And you and I discussed this briefly. Are we having a obligation when they graduate, they come back to Granville County for a period of time?
What we're doing is we're in the process of drafting something, my leadership team and I, to present to the county manager and the county attorney. I want to go to a 2-year contract. If we sponsor somebody to go to BLET, we have them for 2 years before they go anywhere else. So that will start the process of making sure they pay back the investment because we're investing in them. A lot of counties are going to that because you guys have, and ladies, have graciously went ahead and gave them a sign-on bonus. With that sign-on bonus, we needed a long-term commitment from them. And I think that is something I wish and hope that we could probably get through in the next 2 or 3 months So anybody we bring on moving forward, that Mr. Wren and the county manager would bring that to you guys as a proposal to get done.
One final question I got, Sheriff. You talked about weapon systems. Did you make a full accounting of the weapons that were assigned to the Sheriff's Department upon your transition? And is there a full accounting of the weapon system today?
When I got there, there was no accounting record. As it stands now, everything is accounted for, every piece of ammunition, everything that we purchased, everything that's in-house has been accounted for. Mr. Higgs and John Hardy, Captain McCall, Chief Newman have went through the painstaking process of making sure our armor is correct. We took out 50B weapons that should not have been in our armor and put them in evidence where they should have been. And like I said, we just had Forsyth County come in and do an inspection of our evidence room to make sure we're in compliance. We have work to do, but we are moving in the right direction, and we are fully accounted for now.
Thank you, Sheriff, and appreciate your hard work again on that topic. I have no more questions. Does anyone else on the board have any questions? Is there any motions regarding the purchase of these two vehicles? And Sheriff, will you provide that documentation to the county manager and his board? Is this the board agreeable to, based upon the sheriff's word, that these are going to be at the approximate cost of the previous Tahoes? Sheriff, correct me if I'm wrong on this motion.
Very much so, you're correct.
And there will be the previous cost of this motion, and that they will provide us documentation that's consistent with that, and the board can vote on that now. Or does the board wish to delay until they obtain the documentation, with the understanding that that could delay the purchase?
Got a quick question for the manager or Mr. McNally. This is within this budget year. I know we're in the short rows. We have the funds that were already previously allocated in this budget process for these vehicles.
That's certainly what this indicates, and I understand that the sheriff has talked with Mr. McNally and that he's confirmed that.
Okay.
And these vehicles come in at 45,759.5 apiece, below the 52,000.
But then you also need the
Outfit them. Yes, sir.
Is that included?
No, sir. Either way, the 52, we'd take it to 57. The 42, we'd take it to 47.
Did these come off state contract as well?
State contract.
County manager, you have any comments?
One last thing. The SBI had already kind of identified these vehicles, and their contract fell through. So we were able to, because Mr. Harrison has a great relationship with these people, able to secure them and hold them until you guys gave me a yay and nay. So all of these agencies are chasing the same vehicles.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. What I would say is that in the short run, I appreciate the difficulty that the sheriff has in finding vehicles that are available and workable for his growing staff. In the long run, and he mentioned some of these options that we're looking at, but I think the county has an opportunity, both with the purchasing, maintenance, and management of our growing fleet, to work with some outside companies that really have expertise in those areas and end up with a much more rational and well-managed process for purchasing and managing a fleet. And so I hope before this fiscal year is out to be bringing you a fairly comprehensive proposal on that front.
County Attorney, any comments regarding that?
I haven't seen the details of it, but certainly it makes logical sense. We've got to go through an appropriate contracting process for that, just like we would anything else, but trying to get some handle on an asset management strategy makes a lot of sense to me.
And is the board agreeable that we can go ahead and proceed with the vote, although we don't have the documentation in front of us? We've been provided a cost and an approximate cost, and it's less than what was proposed, but just with the understanding the sheriff's staff will provide that information to Mr. McNally and to the county manager. Fair enough, Sheriff?
Yes, sir. 9 o'clock tomorrow morning.
Okay. Do I have any motions?
Move to approve this.
Do I have a second? Second. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? It carries. Thank you, Sheriff, for taking the time to explain all that to us, and also thank you and your staff for the diligence that you're taking in the areas that we discussed tonight. You have had a very robust few months, and we appreciate everything that your deputies are doing as well. Congratulations to those members in the Sheriff's Department are recently promoted, and we expect great things out of the Granville County Sheriff's Department. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioners. Thank you to my staff. And one last thing, Reverend Anderson was sworn in as a chaplain this past week as well. We're starting a new chaplaincy program where I swore in 6 chaplains in the past 2 weeks. So it's part of our community engagement unit that we're going to utilize. So thank you.
Does he get a gun?
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay.
I agree.
I lost one place here. Just give me a second there. Okay, Mr. Falls, if you could come before the board and the county manager, and again, board is looking for approval for engineering oversight for construction of leachate tank number 2, and if you could explain to our audience what leachate actually means,
Yes.
in a simplistic term.
It's a lot prettier than it sounds. Mr. Chairman, fellow commissioners, thank you. The board approved the construction of additional leachate tank at the regular meeting in August. The additional tank that was approved is designed to accommodate the increased flow of leachate due to the new cell being constructed. The attached scope of work discusses services and the associated costs for engineer review for design and construction oversight for this tank. These services are required by the state for a permit to construct as well as a permit to operate. And there's some additional background included in the agenda for this work. The funding, county administration recommends using general fund balance to loan an additional $45,663 to the already approved loan of $4 million at 1% over a 7-year period to the Solid Waste Enterprise Fund for the construction and engineering costs associated with the sale. A recommendation recommends approval of the scope of work and associated funding and authorizes the county manager to execute the resulting contract once the county attorney and engineer have finished working out the contract details at the amount of $45,663. Is there any questions?
County manager, you have any comments?
Just that this is a relatively small contract coming at the tail end of a very complicated process. This is the 10th engineering contract that's been associated with the construction of the new landfill cell. And that gives you a sense of how complicated a process that's been. I know this was originally proposed for the December 5th agenda, but I took a look at it and decided that I needed to learn a little bit more about that series of contracts and the budget for the landfill expansion. And so the county attorney and I and Mr. Falls have spent significant time together over the past month and a half, sort of discussing it and coming to one accord about where we are with this project and how all these contracts fit together. Mr. Attorney Wren is working with some of his colleagues to make sure that the construction contracts and the engineering contracts all really make sense together. And that sort of gets to that comment in the recommendation that sort of as soon as we're prepared to kind of move forward with execution, we'll do that, but it won't be substantially different at all than what's been proposed tonight.
What's the pleasure of the board?
Do you want an answer on what the leachate is?
It's a fancy drink at Starbucks.
No, it's not a fancy drink at Starbucks.
What was the question?
Leachate.
What is
It's a leachate tank that you all approved in August. It's about a 600,000 gallon tank, and it's coming from England. It's being shipped over here by boat, and that holds all the leachate that filters through the landfill, collects it where we hold it and transport it to the city of Oxford for treatment. Is that what your question was?
I think that was what is the critter that's going in the tank is what I was asking.
Yeah, you have the landfill, rain, it all percolates through the trash that you throw away at home. So it picks up whatever is in the trash through the gravel, into the leachate tank, pipes, and then into the tank itself. All that's stored until we get a truck to pull it out to the wastewater treatment plant in Oxford.
Thank you. Very good.
Which is why the landfill has lined collection sites, yeah.
Yeah. It's all to keep that leachate from entering the groundwater. Our old landfill didn't have that back in the 90s, 97. Didn't have a liner, but this one has a liner. Keeps it from entering the groundwater.
Based on the county manager's recommendation, is the board, is there a motion from the board?
Move for approval.
Do I have a second?
Second motion, Mr. Chairman.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion is approved. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Falls. We have no proclamation or resolutions. Does any commissioner have any proclamation or resolution or any recent legislation they'd like to discuss? I have none. Thank you. Okay, we're going to move to some appointments now. So this is to make appointments and reappointments to the Adult Care Home Community Advisory Committee. And then the terms of Dolores Lyons in District 4 and Bannerman in District 6, appointed by one, expire in January. Do we have any recommendation? Recommendations are Lyons and Bannerman have been active and are recommended to reappoint by Kimberly Hawkins, Regional Long-Term Care Ombudsman with Carter Council of Government. So I think do I have a motion on approving those?
Mr. Chairman, surely District 4, I recommend the reappointment of Dolores Lyons.
District 1 is appointed District 6. Are they sure, Mr. Karen?
That's District 1's appointment.
Yeah, District 1 is it's a District 6 appointment by District 1.
It's a District 6 person that
Yeah.
is appointed by District 1.
Are we good with them to continue to serve?
You good?
Okay.
So
Do
that's-
do I have a motion by the board that Miss Lyons and Miss Bannerman continue in service?
I'll make that motion, Mr. Chairman.
Do I have a second? All in favor?
Aye.
The motion passes. Next is the Nursing Home Community Advisory Committee to make appointments and reappointments to the Nursing Home Community Advisory Committee. The terms of Gwen Bullock, District 1, and Gail Birdsong, District 7 expire. Ms. Bullock and Ms. Birdsong have been active and recommended for reappointment by Kimberly Hawkins, the Regional Long-Term Care Ombudsman for the Carter Council of Government. Do I have a motion on those reappointments from District 1
Move to reappoint, Ms. Gwen Bullock.
and District 7?
Motion to reappoint Gil Birdsong.
Do I have a motion to approve both at this time?
So moved.
Do I have a second? Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? It carries. Thank you. The next is to consider an appointment to the Car Area Transportation Authority. And I think that 2 members are appointed from each county, which represent 1 government official and 1 human services representative. Donica Hampton, the Granville County Social Service, has resigned and needs to replace. Do we have anyone referencing an appointment on that?
I'd like to, appoint Ms. Kathy May.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? It carries. Ms. May is the appointment. Next is the Granville County Planning Board. To make appointment to the Granville County Planning Board, the Planning Board serves at the pleasure of the Board of Commissioners and reviews and makes recommendations to governing body. John Curran of District 2 has resigned effective January 31st, 2023 and needs to be replaced. An application for Adam Brewer from District 2 has been received for consideration. Mr. Williford, do you have any recommendations?
I would like to nominate Adam Brewer to fulfill the term of John Curran effective February 1st.
Do you have a motion to approve? Second. And do I have first with him and have a second with Mr. Gooch? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? It carries. Thank you. Next is the Granville Health System Board of Trustees to fill the hospital staff vacancy position. And if you will, they have others serving down below are listed. And then if you go to the back of the page, ladies and gentlemen, commissioners, the recommendation is the Medical Executive Committee and the Granville Health System Administrative Team recommend the appointment of Dr. Shane Hodge. Do I have a motion to have Mr. Hodge appointed?
Move to appoint Dr. Hodge.
Have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Next, I'd like to discuss the discussion of the expansion of the ABC Board. County Manager, if you would briefly explain that, what we're attempting to do and the requests that were brought to you. And I know that you issued us a memorandum, but for the purpose of the public, just a quick summary.
Yes, sir. So general statute in North Carolina gives county boards of commissioners some options for the sort of sizing of these two boards, both of them. And there are some, in the case of the ABC Board, the additional appointments would just be up to the Board of County Commissioners. In the case of the DSS Board, additional appointments would come, two additional appointments. So if you move from a 3 to a 5-member board, one comes from the County Commissioners and one comes from the state. It mentions the source there. It's the Social Services Board at the state level, I believe. I may not be getting that.
Is it, I mean, because I'm appointed by the governor, so is that being appointed by the governor?
I believe those are the same thing.
Okay.
Yes. So I don't have a recommendation on either of these. I just provided as much background information on these sort of appointment processes and procedures as I could.
So we're going to cover both of these items. We're going to cover, for the sake of time, the discussion of expansion of ABC Board, and then we'll take a vote on that, and then we'll go through and discuss, and then we'll do the discussion of expansion of the DSS Board. And I'll start with what the county manager just explained, that the boards can be expanded. Now, in regards to the expansion of the ABC Board, what is the pleasure of the board?
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion that we continue the discussion at our retreat for the expansion of the ABC Board.
Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? One opposed, and vote carries. We should have had discussion in there. Would you like to have discussion at this point? I apologize for taking the vote, but I think you're actually entitled to tell us how you feel.
Good. Thank you. The reason why I said, anytime it's a 3-member board, as a 3-member, it's Jericho when I said something. A 3-member board, anytime you have a 3-member board, if I meet Commissioner May on the street and I mention anything about the board we're serving on, we are breaking the law. We could not be, we could be talking about each other's family, but Q Public sees us, we're breaking the law.
Anytime two people two on board get together, you're breaking the law without the third person. To give some, I have thought about it, but to make it right, I can't talk to you about a problem on the board without breaking the law.
And the Commissioner Jay what he's recognizing is that because it's a 3-member board, when 2 members are together, you have formed a quorum. And then based on state law, then that means that those communications are official in capacity at that nature, and you've actually constituted a board. And so, Mr. Jay is duly noted, and what we will do is we will take this up in the retreat and have a more robust discussion about it, and we will have the county attorney and county manager there as well to take on any additional questions. But thank you, and I apologize for missing the discussion phase of that. If we could move to the DSS expansion of that board, and what is the pleasure of the board?
Attorney Wren, on the DSS board, we have to go through the state on some of that. Is that something we have to get approval from, on the state?
The state would have to, I think, appoint someone and pull the statute and take a look at it, but I don't know that you have to get permission from the state to increase the board. I think it's just, you would just need to notify the state and they appoint someone.
Okay. Well, I would feel better if we pulled, if you would check on that before retreat and we discuss that again at retreat. I don't want to break any more laws than we have to.
I don't think we have to break any.
Good. Please, I don't want to break any. So if we could bring that back, I'll make a motion that I agree with turning this over to a 5-member board, because it is difficult when, 3 of us just look at each other. And Mr. Cozart and I are together quite a bit. So I agree with going to the 5 board, but I think we need to make sure that all of our I's are dotted and our T's are crossed and everything is done with the state right. So if we could do this at the retreat, I would greatly appreciate it.
So Ms. Hennon, if I understand you correctly, you made a motion to delay the vote on this and make a decision on the number of board members at the retreat, and I need a second. Correct?
Second motion.
Any discussion?
I got my thing.
You got yours in?
I got mine.
Okay. All in favor to move this item to the retreat, can I have a vote on that now?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
Thank you. Can I have a witness is what I should have said. Yes, sir.
If I could just add, I don't think that, my input would not be substantially different at the board retreat, but whenever we have boards that have fewer members than we have commissioners, right, there is sort of a question of how appointments to those boards would be handled by this board. So I think that's something that would be good for board members to give some thought before we come into that February retreat, so that we don't have to spend, too much time hashing through that at the retreat. That's precious time that we need for a lot of different purposes.
So if Attorney Wren could check that out and make sure that, who does what on that.
I think I'm right of the way I answered that.
Okay.
I think the question Drew's bringing up is just making sure you all have given some thought to, if you have less than 7 appointments, how you equitably share those among the commissioners.
Because like right now, when we appointed Ms. Moore, the 2 of us did that. And so, and I don't know if it's the 3 of us could appoint someone, and then the state, the other person.
Yeah, so right now you have a representative appointed by the county commission. You have a representative appointed by and I've looked it up now, it is the Social Services Commission at the state. And then those 2 members nominated and approved a 3rd member. If you move from that number to 5, there are 2 more appointments. One is made by this board and one is made by the Social Services Commission. I think when the member who is appointed by the other members, when that term expires, that would be then filled by the other 4 members of that board would have to appoint the 5th member. Does that make sense?
Okay, and so both those matters will be further discussed at the retreat, so thank you. A side note here that's not on the agenda, but I did discuss with the county attorney, this is his first retreat. We have buried him.
County manager.
The county manager, sorry. We buried the county manager since his arrival. And he suggested today that, kind of jokingly, but I have no issue with it, if we extended the retreat maybe a half day to a day to make sure that we have adequate time to discuss the many topics we need to discuss and to position him in a much better position, in my view, moving forward into the budget year. So that's just something to think about if you have something that you want to discuss or you'd like to render your opinion to the county attorney on that. Please feel free. And then county attorney, if you utilize your best judgment on whether or not that you take that seriously or not, okay?
We have a date for the retreat, don't we?
We have 2 days set aside right now, kind of most of a day on Monday evening, the 20th, and then all day on Friday, the 24th. And I appreciate that offer, and I may take you up on it. I'll need to chat a little bit more with staff, but if you see a doodle poll coming through from Deborah looking for a third day, you'll know why it's coming.
Thank you, County Manager. Our next item is Board of Commissioners, Ms. Weichel. If you could discuss proposed adjustments to Granville Athletic Park fees.
Hello again.
Hey.
So tonight I'm bringing before you an unusual mid-year fee manual change, and that is because we had some requests for the field use arising from a seasonal nature. So this request is in two parts. The first part deals with the baseball fields at the park. 2 county charter schools currently use the baseball fields for their team games, and they are requesting use of the same fields for practices beginning in February. Due to the nature of baseball practice, allowing for this extended use will necessitate increased field maintenance and additional materials to be purchased. So we did an internal review of anticipated additional costs, as well as comparison of like facilities in our geographic region, and noted that the gap fees are notably lower. And so our recommendation is that the new rates for 2-hour rentals would increase from $35 to $55 for residents or in-county entities, and from $60 to $80 for non-residents or out-of-county entities. The second part of this is dealing with the spray park. Due to operational costs, we also conducted a review of spray park facilities in close proximity to Granville County's geographic location. And we wanted to look at our current operating practices as well as the $1 admission fee that we currently charge. The Gap Spray Park is the only like facility that permits group rentals, and it's the only like facility that charges an admission fee. And that admission fee does require a spray park attendant be on site to monitor and collect the fees. So what we'd like to recommend is that we still retain the current schedule that would allow for group rentals, and that during those group rentals we would have an on-site attendant in place, but eliminate the admission fee and the on-site attendant during general operating hours. So attached to the agenda item this evening is a fee manual excerpt that shows the proposed fee increases for the baseball fields to accommodate team practices, and an elimination of the spray park $1 general admission fee. And I'm happy to take questions if you have any.
From talking to the county manager today to that, going to do a first year assessment, and then if it, based on that, if we need to up it, we have that option to do, but want to evaluate it and want to promote the use of those fields.
Right, that's right.
What is the pleasure of the board?
I just have a question before we do that. So the charter schools, I mean, all the public schools have their own facilities.
Correct.
But the charter schools, which we don't give any extra money to, they don't have facilities and they're renting the Gap.
That's correct.
But we want to increase the amount of money we're going to charge them.
So right now, we've got a fee in place, and they are using the fields for games. They want increased usage, and so they want to practice on those fields, which then in turn causes more maintenance. And due to the cost that we will absorb based on that maintenance, we're going to build that into the new fees. And Raymond, the park manager, has been in touch with both of the charter schools that want to practice out there, and they're both in agreement. We actually had a letter from Vance Charter asking us to make any consideration, and they would be willing to pay what they need to be able to use these fields for practice because they don't have a place to practice.
But don't they get charged for the time that they're out there playing for practice?
They do, yes.
And for the game?
Yes. So the fees would be the same, and for an out-of-county entity, it would be $80 for the 2 hours for a game.
I'm just, because they're going to be paying extra to rent those fields to use them.
So, Ms. Sue,
I'm just saying, go ahead.
Yeah, Ms. Simmons, if I will. So, fortunately or unfortunately, I've had experience with turf and ball fields, and based on the field erosion and the grass type and the constant use, you could easily run up to this fee. And likely I would submit to you, will not be surprised if we are undervaluing the fields. I understand that the money goes with the child when they go to a charter school to that school, and it's the charter school's provision to provide. Mr. Kieran is very familiar with the charter school concept, much better than I am. But they have a means to gain funding for those type of things. I think the county is wise to get recovery of funds for what really is going to be basic maintenance, cutting. Bermuda in the spring will have to be cut continuously. The turf and rebuilding of the infields, ground erosion, it's costly. And
That's
so
right.
I'm just pointing that out, that it's like we want to promote the use of the fields, but it's going to cost to maintain the condition they are for the tournaments on weekends and things of that nature. It's going to cost.
Right, and so we're really looking to recoup the costs that we are incurring if we allow this extra use. And I will just put your mind at ease further. When we did an analysis of fields around us, Vance County was the only one who was lower. Most were higher, and we are matching the next highest at $80. There's still some that are even higher than that. So I think the Gap fields have been lower than most around for whatever reason, and this will bring us more in line with the fields around us.
And $80 is for the non-resident.
Correct.
Correct.
That's correct. For the
And it's 55 for the resident rate.
This is across the board for everybody. You got a team that comes in from out of town and plays at the tournament during the weekends, they pay just the same thing.
That's correct. This is not going to affect the tournament.
They pay what's on the schedule.
They'll play what's on the schedule. There is a separate tournament rate. That's right. Yeah, the tournament rate is not going to change.
So if I can answer Commissioner Himmons' question a little bit, between the ADM and other pass-through funds that the charter schools receive, some of them decide to build their own facilities. Some use their money to rent some facilities. Some do a hybrid. So they're getting the funds from the contracts they have in place to educate those children, and this is just how they're expending it. So, we do provide facilities for Granville County Public Schools, but we are providing monies, as Commissioner May said, it follows a child through ADM, as well as other pass-throughs, percentages that we give them for, teacher supplement and all those kind of things. The business model for the charter school is that they've got room within their budgets to rent facilities and those kind of things, and we're just staying on market.
Well, I'm just thankful they don't come and ask us for more money. That's why I'm wanting to make sure they don't start.
No, and unfortunately, and then we'll cover the retreat. I'm looking forward to Commissioner Kozar and I and County Manager meeting with the schools, because we do have, this board was wise enough to set aside some funding for our schools separate for our discretion to use for things like athletics. And I look forward to meeting with the schools and getting some targeted matters, because our current facilities are in need of some upgrades themselves. So thank you, appreciate the board doing that. Yes, sir.
My question, the amphitheater. Do we got that? Okay. I see you would raise that 20 from 25 to 50, right?
We're not going to affect the amphitheater costs at all. The only thing that we're requesting is an increase for the baseball fields and an elimination of the spray park admission fee.
So all at the same. Okay, my question is with that. I just saw the picture law.
Yeah, yeah, that is actually for a full day rental, whereas 25 for half day.
Are we getting any participation out of the amphitheater?
We actually are.
Because, excuse me, cutting you off, but it's been so, every time I go there, it's just sitting there, just a place in the wall.
Yeah.
So it says a hole in the wall, just sitting there, nobody uses it.
But we have had some rentals, to be honest with you. I think I was just told last week that someone is going to be teaching a yoga class out there in the spring. We've had some people rent it for a family gathering because it's much cheaper than the sports pavilion. You don't have the shade there as like you did, but it's much cheaper than the sports pavilion. So it is getting rented. It just isn't our best seller, so to speak.
You're right. I don't know what we need to do but we need to.
And while you mentioned the amphitheater, I also wanted to let the board know the grant that we, as you know, the grant that we had applied for to get the shade canopy out there was not successful. We are continuing to pursue grants. I mean, that project is very costly, and we just don't feel like it's something we can justify for county taxpayer dollars, but we are continuing to look at grant money and to try to find something so that we can do something out there to be able to provide shade.
I just think we need to do something to encourage people to use it. It's a nice shelter. If you haven't, I know everybody has seen it, but somehow or another we need to sell ourselves, to sell the amphitheater, so we can get more use of it. That's a message.
Board, based on, thank you, Mr. J. Based on the recommendations of Ms. Weichel and the county manager, what is the board's pleasure? To approve the funding?
Mr. Chairman, I move that we accept the recommendation coming from our assistant county manager as it relates to the fee manual revisions for the GAP Phase 1 baseball fields and spray park.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Weichel. Mr. County Manager, any matters that you would like to discuss with us this evening?
Just one brief one, which is to appreciate all of you for setting aside a half day at some point in the last 6 to 8 weeks to tour me around your districts for a half day. I finished those last week with a great tour of District 1 with Commissioner Jay. Really enjoyed all of them. Appreciate again the expertise and experience and just the storytelling and the show and tell that went along with each of those tours. That was really informative and helpful for me. So thank you to each of you.
Thank you for doing that with us, County Manager. And it's been a very, as I said earlier, a real roller coaster for you from day one, and we're happy to have you. County Manager, County Attorney, any matters you'd like to report to us?
I have some matters for executive session for personnel, economic development, and attorney-client privilege.
Okay. And we'll move in that in just a second. Thank you. I will now move forward with our commissioners' statements and announcements they would like to make, and I'll start with Commissioner Williford, if you would.
Sir?
You're the first one up.
Let me hit this. I actually do have a couple of things, Mr. Chairman. We attended the Martin Luther King Jr. celebration at Baptist Church yesterday morning. Did not have breakfast, but the service was excellent. It was absolutely excellent. The students' essays were outstanding. They read them and they were really, really inspirational. Very nice. Good music, and the speakers were excellent. Then I went to the Boys and Girls Club, which you were there, and that was also a very nice program. On a personal note, I attended the new commissioner school last week in Raleigh, put on by the UNC School of Government, and it was definitely an eye-opener. So for those people in District 2, there's a lot of things I can't do that they think I can do. So I found out a whole lot. It was excellent. They do a great program. Met some new people from other counties. I think there were about 100 in attendance. New commissioners, county clerks, county managers. Some were coming back as refreshers, but it was a very good program. I enjoyed it and appreciate the board letting me go, making me go. On a side note, the ABC board took a contract for a new store in Oxford last week. So once Attorney Wren has had a chance to go through and look at it, we hope we can have groundbreaking sometime in the next 60 days. Okay, we're glad to get this underway.
Thank you, Commissioner Williford. Commissioner Henman.
Thank you, sir. First of all, I'd like to thank the board for all the prayers and the calls and the cards and the hydrangea that I just received now that I'm home, and the donation that's made to the American Cancer Association for my little sister. It's hard losing a little sister. It's hard to lose anybody, but a little sister is very hard to lose. And so I did miss a couple meetings, such as the library board, but thank you for letting me go out of town to do that.
Thank you, ma'am. Commissioner Cozart.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chairman. Look forward to the North Carolina Association of County Commissioners Board of Directors meeting that will be coming up, I think it's on the 27th and 28th. And also, next month, we'll have the appointments for the Human Relations Commission. Surely appreciate the appointments that this board has made. And we had a lot of work went into the program, and it meant a lot to me personally to see Mr. Albert Capps recognized with the Reverend Robert Blackwell Award. And I had the chance to meet him at D.N. Hicks, and the award meant a lot to him, and it was good. I was real happy to see that. So that is all, and just enjoy seeing everyone as we kind of go on this tour on Dr. King's Day. We kind of roll together, but be pretty tired by the end of the day. But we thank everybody for their support. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Commissioner Cozart. Commissioner Karen.
No report.
Commissioner Gooch.
Thank you. As the county manager was speaking about his tour, had the opportunity for my portion of it, one section of my portion of it, to meet with the STEM Town Council and the STEM Mayor. And they were most appreciative of the opportunity to speak with the county manager and let him know what's going on there and what they're planning in the future. County manager already previously met with people at Butner, but this was a worthwhile visit, and thankful we got to spend the time with them. And, that's all I have for tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Commissioner Jay.
Mr. Chairman, board members, I too, on yesterday, went around I did get breakfast. I ate breakfast for y'all. But, you know, I went to I made it around to all three services that was going on in the county. And I'd like to say this. We talk about our young peoples, but our young peoples, when you get them to write essays and stuff like that, I'm telling you, they did a fantastic job at each one. But what got me was the young lady from, I ain't Brad calls it, Way Up School is in my district. The young lady from Way Up School, a sophomore at Way Up School, if I was a minister, Tony, I know you wouldn't want to come behind her. That young lady, she didn't do an essay. She preached a sermon that touches everybody and told you where in the Bible you can go back and find it from. She did her homework. And what was shocking to me, Pastor, we didn't have no board member that I remember at Northern Grammar yesterday to listen at their students, their children, their babies perform yesterday at Northern Grammar Middle School. Those children was excellent. Every service I went to, the students, they should be proud of their students, the way they spoke and did that essay. Also, just like you said, on behalf of the district health department, you know, we had that cold day, we had some pipes to butt. But we, the health department, just like to say, tell the county manager and tell his staff that came over and helped them getting the water up and everything. But said thank you. He said, especially tell Gary, thank you for his hard work, because Gary came in. I'm gonna tell you this. They was in there using a vacuum to get water up, standing in water. And the electric light, one of the lights had fell out of the ceiling and the wire was still on. Having Gary walked in time to tell him, get out. And he went there and got the wire cut there. They said, tell Gary, thank you. But we were sending all the patients over to Vance County, but we now shifting around to more spaces, found some more spaces that we can handle most of our clients at Grandma. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Jay. I was yesterday at the Martin Luther King service in Creedmoor. It was a very good service, and with Commissioner Karen and Mr. Jay was there as well, and we enjoyed our time there. Some other matters, and our fire commission is going to make some important decisions here pretty soon in regards to funding. The Corinth Fire Department just purchased a new fire pumper, which is a tremendous asset to the county. It's with an enclosed cab and meets all the most latest requirements that you would want. That's just tremendous. And again, that was a lot on their part. A lot of the funding for that likely came prior to the fire tax. And so, again, that's essential that we continue those services and continue to upgrade those services of that nature. So, I want to thank the staff for being here tonight, as they are each board meeting. I know you've had long days, and you can, and you listen to us labor in our speech and our talk to communicate messages. I thank you for being here. Please know, as while I'm chair, that I'm going to do my very best to communicate to the public things that I don't think that they're aware of, or they're things that that need further explanations, so that they understand that we're operating in the utmost transparency. And so we just want to do that. I think it's important that we operate in that manner and educate as we go, processes that folks are not familiar with, and you wouldn't be unless you came to these meetings or you heard what was said and so forth. So, and then that's the conclusion of my comments. Ms. Weary, do we have any other matters that you're aware of?
Mr. Chair, I do have one thing I'd like to ask. In regards to the young lady that Commissioner Jay spoke about, I would like to see us explore the possibility of having her come before the board and make her presentation, if she was willing to, and possibly give some type of recognition to her.
I think thumbs up from everybody, and we're good. Mr. J can make that invitation, and then he can relay that to Ms. Weary for the next board meeting, or even maybe at the retreat. So closed session, the attorney has mentioned that we need a closed session, and so closed session allowed by GS 143-318.11. And so I need a motion to go into closed session at this time.
Move that we go into closed session.
I'll make that motion that we do all three of those critters, if we can do a bio break.
This will be economic development, personnel, and attorney-client privilege in this closed session. Thank you, clerk, for that. Can I have a motion? Do I have a second? All in favor?
All right.
We are now in closed session. Thank you. Yeah,